Hello. We are the crazy people.
Another fine winter's day. Slightest breeze coming from those houses. The Paramotor, something I looked at probably about 3-5 years ago, and they were about $1,000 to buy. And I thought, no, not interested. So come along to about 2 years ago, and there's a fella by the name of Tom Stanton in the UK. I think he's a aeronautical engineer, and he does all sort of zany ideas with all sorts of things that fly. Anyway, he did his own Paramotor, but he had the old, well, he did a 3D printed version, and I thought that'd be good. But the problem that I had there was he had one of the old versions, or the version 1 wing, which had all the lines. You had to manually set them up, and I just thought, too hard. So fast forward to about 2 or 3 months ago, and Hobby King brings out a Paramotor, 254 Australian dollars delivered, and I thought that's a lot of money, and it could be one of those things that you just fly for 2 or 3 batteries and go, well, big deal. So anyway, I thought, seeing I had a 3D printer, and I remembered Tom Stanton's print in Thingiverse, so I thought I'd print my own. So we've actually done that. So big shout out to 3 people. One is Tom Stanton in the UK, thank you for your design. 2 is Lee at Painless 360. Had a look at his video last night and downloaded his sketch for the Tyrannus, put it straight on mine, and all I had to do was reverse the servos and we're up and running. And Mr. RC Adventure. Now, Mr. RC Adventure, I don't know his name in the States. He's the original designer that worked with Hobby King. He does his own Paramotors, makes his own wings and rigging and all that sort of stuff. Does a whole lot of good stuff. I'll put links in the description down below if you're interested in those channels. I'll put those 3 videos in the link. So let's get into it. Let's have a look at our Paramotor. So bought the wing. The wing's in there all folded so I don't get the lines all messed up. So this is actually in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. So this back piece is 2 halves, and you can see there I had to print it in. When you reverse it and make the 2 halves, it doesn't actually line up for the bolt holes, but anyway, it's got a nice little neat hole in there to run your wires through. So I did this guy first, these 2 pieces, and then I did the arms, then I did this all in the yellow, and then I did the blue, and that's 1, 2, 3 pieces. So you can see there I've got some, it's like some epoxy. Now if you're in Australia, I bought a super glue, and the super glue is a Loctite product. I'll put a link in the description below, and it's got like a felt pen, and you run the felt pen around both surfaces and then you put the super glue on it. It's as strong as anything, you cannot pull it apart. So that was $9 a little container, so I've still got heaps of it left. So I've super glued that together. That's not super glue, that's just fiberglass tape. That's super glued, and that's super glued. And then what I did is I got some of that 5-minute 2-pack epoxy, and I sort of pasted over these where the joins are, and I also pasted over these to make them a little bit stronger, and I put it inside here just to give it that little bit more rigidity. We are running back in there a 60 amp or 65 amp Turnigy Plus ESC. It's got the brake on it. The reason you have the brake on is so that when you cut the power and you land, your motor is not still spinning and tangle up all your lines. We're running this massive 3530 14 1100 kV motor with a, I think it's a 9-inch slow flying prop on there counterclockwise. So you can see there sort of didn't line up properly, and so what I've done there is I've mounted my motor to an aluminium cross mount, and then I've bolted another aluminium cross mount to the base. So if you want to change motors, you just undo that. The other thing is, with the vibration of this motor, it actually wears the point on the PLA, and they tend to come loose fairly regularly. The servos are friggin' huge servos. They are an MG996R high torque. I think they're 14 gram or 13 gram. They're a massive 42mm servo. I actually bought them by mistake about 2 or 3 years ago. I was going to throw them out. I thought I'll never use them, but I don't throw anything out, so came in for a good use. What I've done with that, you can see that there's 2 screw holes there. What I've done is I've put the servo all the way up to the top, so that's as far as it can go in its travel, and then I've screwed the standard mount that you put on your servo. I had to file it down to fit. There's a recess in the back of these. I don't know whether you can see it over there on that one, but there's a recess there, so I've screwed the part that you get for your servo, your connector, to here, and then I've drilled a hole and screwed that straight into the servo. So that's the center of the servo there. So if you can have a look in there, they're massive big servos in there, big 42mm servos. I also put some epoxy around these, and what I did is I drilled and tapped some holes in here. Now there's some holes in this design, there's some holes here, and there's provision for a magnet. I find when you glue magnets in, they never really hold, so I haven't worried about that. We're just going to put some tape over. So I've got some screws in there, and there's a screw hole up the back there. So all I did was basically drilled the holes out to 4mm, because they were sort of a 3mm. And what I've done in there, I don't know whether you can see that, there's a little red piece in there. That's one of those connectors off a bullet connector, the old type that you slide on to connect to protect it. I've just cut them down to just so that ribbon isn't on the screw there, and they're held in snug. And I've left them a bit longer. I could have cut them off and made it all neat, but I thought, why would I want to do that? So a couple of things about this. I didn't realise it was so big. I mean, it's bloody massive, big piece of gear. And we're flying the little V8R42. So it's only short range stuff. We're only going to fly maybe 100 metres away and see how we go, if it does get off the ground. And yeah, sort of, it's a massive big piece of kit. So all up printing time in this, they were 7.5 hours a half. So you got 15 hours in the back. That was 12 hours. That was 12, and that was 12, and that was a day. So you may as well say 15 hours a day, or half a day for that, a day, half a day, there's 2 days, 3 days. So 3 days continuous printing, and you've got that. Now that's at 40%. That's at that's at 30% infill. So it's not 100%. Just left it a bit lighter. I probably should have gone 100%, but it probably would have added about 15 hours to the whole print overall. So I've got it at 30, which is, you know, good enough, and I printed that out at 100mm a second, so it sort of got going pretty well. I did do the toilet seat part there. I did do this part, and I put it on, put a little video up. A few mates that commented and said it was a flying toilet seat, so I've affectionately named it the flying toilet seat. So set up all the lines, got everything set up. A couple of things you need to remember with the Paramotor. The wing itself is set up so the brakes actually go this way. So if you put the wing around the wrong way, you'll actually won't get off the ground. So the front 3 lines, there's only 2 connections on this. The front riser has only got 3 lines on it, the rest of the lines are at the back. And of course that lower ring there is where your brake line goes through, and then you've got to set it up, and I won't explain that, but there's some marks there at 649mm, and you run this up and you put a knot through there and get that knot to line up with the top of these rings. pretty easy when you watch the video 300-400 times, and away you go. So had to file this down a little bit to let it fit in there. So that sort of fits in there. So that's what she sort of looks like, the end product. And you know, it's not perfect, but nothing I've got is perfect. But that's it, and for kicks and giggles, we'll see how we go with that. Now, the other thing is, this thing needs around about, it needs around about 1.2 to 1.5 kilos of ballast. And when you think about it, it's just a parachute. So you're going to need some massive amount of weight to hold it down. So I honestly thought this would be about half the size, and I just put a 4S battery in it and get going. So what we're running is 2 of these. We're putting one in for ballast and one in to run it. So we're going to try with the Zippy 4000 3S to start with, because it is a big motor, big prop, and you don't need a lot of speed. This isn't a speed demon. This is, the speed gives you the lift, and the brakes give you the lowering, or just throttle off, and then you've got left and right. So and then we're going to use this big 4000 here for a ballast. Now that plus that is a kilo. That with it in there gives you 1.5 kilos. So we'll see how we go. A little bit nervous, I must say. I've got a bit of time invested in this. Motor I've had for about 5 years. Bought them by mistake when I first started flying it, and this motor's never been used. The other motor's burnt out because it was on the Tundra, and everything the Tundra touches dies. So anyway, we'll shut up. I think that's about enough as we can do with that. We'll take it out and we'll do some testing with it.